Back to Grand Prestige League. Last time we were here, we were doing a one-off special endurance race, the SF500. Super long endurance race around Spa, and I told you guys that you're going to want to subscribe to this channel because even though we're in the off-season, we will be coming back for more special races, and I was not wrong, as now we are here for the maiden race of the inaugural season of the GT500, a brand new series with Group 2 cars. So we are going to be featuring the likes of the NSX, the GTR, and the Lexus RCF. And we're here at Fuji Speedway. There is going to be a full series of this, so we're going to be coming back here every 2 weeks for another round of racing here. And it's a little different than our normal Super Formula series in that this is an individual competition, so there are no teams. It is just everyone for themselves, drivers' points only. And I am B23 hosting this race for you guys once again, and I'm here with Rekus, just like last time, and he will take it away with some information about the track we're on today.
Alright, thank you so much, B23. Hello everyone, as B23 said, my name is Rekus, and I'm going to be talking to you about this amazing speedway we have here, just right on the outskirts of Mount Fuji in Japan. The current layout we are running is a 4.5 kilometer long circuit with 16 corners, including a massive straightaway. They actually used this race in Formula 1 on one simple occasion, but they haven't really used it then because the only races in Japan for Formula 1 is the Suzuka circuit. But this track sees a lot of use in a lot of other series. MotoGP have used it on occasion. Super Formula has used this race on occasion. And actually, in a pretty recent sense, the World Endurance Championship came here for the 6 hours of Fuji. But most importantly, what we're here for, Super GT in the GT500 class races here at Fuji. A lot of corners here. Some good mix of like low speed, medium speed corners. Some of the toughest corners is the Daiichi corner going into turn 1. It's a very sharp hairpin, which can catch drivers out if they don't brake early enough. It is a very deceptively tricky corner, as well as the 100R corner, very similar to what we see at Suzuka. And then even a very tricky little chicane there around turn 10, 11, and 12 at the Dunlop corner. Rounding out the end of the lap, you have the Panasonic corner from turn 16 that leads to the main straightaway. This track has been around since 1965. It is a very historic circuit, but the 1965 version looked significantly different and honestly almost more like a NASCAR track. But today we are not racing on that 1965 layout, we're racing on the most popular version of this track. Alright, looks like we're about to begin qualifying here. So 15 minutes of qualifying, then we have 25 laps of racing here. As B23 said, no teams, just cars. So we're going to go ahead and get right into it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also going to be only one tier, whereas our normal Super Formula series is 2 tiers. So the skill gap between the drivers in this is going to be a bit bigger. So we're going to see a good mix of different levels of people scrapping and stuff like that. Of course, we have the top people as always. So we have Whiteout, Nuco, Illusion, and those kind of guys here. It doesn't look like we have D Goats here at the moment. We do have Boita. Welcome back to Boita. And yeah, as he was saying about the track too, this is one of the trickiest tracks. Anyone familiar with this track, especially that final sector, it is just so weird, extremely tight, low speed corners that the lines to them are very unconventional. So very difficult to get it just right.
Especially unforgiving if the track is wet or damp, because even though like in a situation where you're running intermediates and it's almost at that crossover point to where you would run the slicks, if you touch the grass, that wet meter that appears on the HUD of the drivers just skyrockets. And your car just loses so much grip, and you might as well go down a slip and slide with a ton of Dawn dish soap on it, because that's about the same level of traction you're going to have. Yeah, overall, it's a fun track, but also very challenging. I honestly do wish that Formula 1 did come to the circuit.
Well, it would be a sight to see. There would definitely be some contact. I can almost guarantee it with this kind of a track. And you can see with the elevation changes too, how if there was any any water on the track, how it would just pool up in these different areas. So yeah, certain tracks would get really dry a lot sooner, and then others would still have these pools of standing water and completely catch you out. Such a difficult track in any condition.
Yeah, if you remember back to the 6 hours of Fuji race that the World Endurance Championship had a few weeks ago, there was a lot of massive contact between, especially in that top tier LMH class, you had contact between one of the Toyotas on their home track with a Ferrari that took them both out of the race. A Cadillac also got sent to the Shadow Realm, even though it was a pole sitter. But it did lead to BMW and Alpine's first podiums in that series, so good for them. But still, especially when the weather starts getting tricky, then this track just becomes such a bigger challenge than it already is. But there's no shortage of overtake possibilities here, especially on that massive straightaway there from the end of turn 16. So looks like Nuko is going to be the first one to post a lap there in the Gazoo Racing Lexus.
Indeed, and looking here we have Yuki in the pits now. Wonder if he's just aborting his lap attempt here. But yeah, most of these guys are now on their first fast lap attempts, and they're going to be crossing the line to set their initial lap times. And now how I like to do it too, because when you're running qualifying, your car is low fuel and it's set up to run the maximum speed you could possibly do. So a lot of these guys are right on the very edge of what their car is capable of, using all of the track that they have at their disposal. And some of these guys might take slightly different strategies as far as how hard they push and when to do it, because a lot of these guys might want to get just a solid lap in first before they start taking full risk and potentially messing up their lap when they're doing full risk runs and then not getting a time on the board at all. So it's usually good to just get kind of a banker lap in so that you have something on the board and then go full risk. And I know a lot of these guys kind of do that type of strategy as well.
Yeah, I mean, qualifying is a lot more strategy than it may appear to have on the surface. You got to make sure everything just lines up absolutely perfectly. The track has got to get rubbered in. You got to get the tires at the right temperature. You got to just make sure that your lines are immaculate and don't do what poor Kill Switch did and go off track to get a track limit penalty.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, the one thing I actually like about this compared to the Super Formula races that we have here is just the variety of liveries that we're going to have here. Just every driver running a different livery. I mean, I'm going to be honest, from a glance, you could potentially mistake Nuko's Lexus from a distance. Like if I stand in the back of my room and look at it from a distance, you could fool me that it's a BMW DTM car.
Oh,
Similar
yeah.
colors to what some of them run. But then you also got the same car with a completely different livery. With, like an example, taking Nuko and Alex's Lexus RCFs as an example. Just shows a lot of like their personality and like their taste when it comes to racing liveries.
Absolutely, and it is cool. I love livery design quite a lot. So I love how two well-designed liveries on the exact same car can make it look like a completely different car. Totally changes the shape and the body lines of the car depending on how you follow it, with the color block it out and stuff. So I really like it. I actually did have the pleasure to design one of these cars on track at the moment. That would be Illusion's car. He specially requested that I give him a car that looked somewhat like a car from, oh, what is it called? I'm not exactly sure what it's called now. It's a foreign name, so I don't want to mess it up anyways. But it's I believe a 1975 stop motion animation movie about racing. And this is one of the cars in there.
That
Not
is
this exact
very
car, but the
interesting.
livery.
Yeah, because I mean, I can see like the retro future aesthetic that's on it too. It's a very, very unique livery.
Yeah, I wanted to incorporate a little bit of the chrome in there too, and yeah, I like how it turned out.
I think chrome got super popular with racing liveries ever since the like 90s and 2000s McLaren Formula One cars. And I mean, it's understandable because it's such a timeless and classic design. Kind of like reeks like futuristic, like retro, or future retro, that kind of vibe. You know, when if you look at any like media from that time period, the future was just chrome. So it's a pretty cool throwback that still holds up well even in today's day and age. Also, I did notice we have an anime livery on track now with Kemazur's Nissan GTR.
Yeah, Kem always repping the HoloLive, and he always has, I think he has like a livery for every one of the
VTubers
streamers that are on there.
Do you think Kemazur is actually just a VTuber in his spare time?
Yeah, he probably is a secret VTuber, and his VTuber character might be the Nissan GTR.
Oh god. That would just be super out of left field. You join a VTuber and it's just like not even a human, just a car.
Yeah.
Like I've seen people in VR chat just roll up and because I played VR chat a little bit back when my older laptop actually worked with my VR headset. But I saw people just roll up in like the BMW M3 GTR from the Need for Speed games. Just like not even a human, just that car, and I'm like, wow. The rigging on that must be super intense.
Good. Yeah, we're seeing we're hoping to get that GTR out of last place at the moment, but he is in the GTR, and I will say that normally when we do the Super Formulas, although we allow tunes, it is the same exact car, only difference being the engine in the car, either being Honda or Toyota, but these guys get to use completely different cars, and the performance is pretty wildly different between the three cars that are available today. And I will say that the NSX is definitely the meta choice or the OP choice. It definitely has quite a little bit of a lap time advantage over the other two cars.
An interesting fun fact about that NSX GT500, I believe that in this game it is the 4-cylinder version as opposed to the V6 hybrid that the car normally runs. Because I know they changed the engines a bit for some of these Super GT cars. Speaking of, Sonic the Hedgehog got to go fast a little too literally, and now is going to have to go slow with a half-second penalty.
Oh no. And plus, yeah, the GTR 2 in every other class and category is a 4-wheel drive car, but the Group 2 version of this GTR that Kemazur is racing here is rear-wheel drive. And I actually much prefer that myself personally.
Yeah, it just seems to work better with these GT cars.
Yeah, and I think where the NSX gets its advantage in the lap time is it being a MR layout, so that mid-engine really helps to rotate the car if you have the driving style that works with that, because the back kind of steps out as you toss it into a corner, and it kind of just rotates the car with gravity a lot easier than the other cars. But I do think the GTR is a bit more stable, so maybe easier to drive. The NSX might be faster, but a little trickier to drive. These guys are good enough to wrangle it in. And then
the not NSX, the RCF is kind of like that middle ground car between the two.
Yeah,
and we are just down to about 5 minutes left on this qualifying session. Right now, Whiteout is on the top, only 2/10 ahead of Lucian, who himself is only 2/10 ahead, or 1/10 ahead of Alex. So I mean, this qualifying group is pretty close for the most part, being usually within a second or less. I mean, even this gap between Flaring Aces and Killswitch is only 8/10. So one that was actually even closer. Yeah, between Nuko and Boita by 800th of a second. So I mean, these cars are getting close to each other in lap times. So definitely a bit different than what we saw at Spa with the SF500 category for their massive endurance race.
For sure. And Alex, too, is a rookie. This is his GPL debut. We are familiar with Alex, although this is his debut in this particular series, and so he is our rookie in the field today, and he is putting in quite the time. We do know that he is a very pacey driver and has really good lap times, and he is showing that today, immediately coming in here and being provisional P3 at the moment, just behind Illusion and Whiteout. That is
yeah, he's only
easy
1/10
feat.
behind Illusion, which is very good. If you just looked at his lap pace alone, you would not even remotely assume that he is a rookie. So good on him for at least making such a very strong statement in the opening stages of quali here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, all these qualifying times are really close to each other. I mean, here's another really close one with Killswitch and Artura being only just under 200ths apart. Missouri is about 7/10ths behind Artura, or I think I said that right. Yeah. Also, I want to actually take note of the Dutch driver's livery real quick. My brain wants to read it as like black with red blood cells traveling to different parts. That's the vibe I'm getting from it. It's very cool regardless of what its intent is. That's just something I noticed.
Probably about 10-20 minutes ago, I just popped in a party with him, and I actually told him that. I was like, you're giving me red blood cell vibes here with this livery, but
if I look close enough to those red blood cells, I might see the magic school bus just show up.
That's
it was indeed not a normal field trip.
And so, but he did show me the livery, what it was inspired on. There was an anime character that he was basing the livery design on, and that anime character kind of had these little red circles in his outfit going on.
So that makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, but if I didn't already know that, I would definitely deem this the red blood cell livery.
100%.
Yeah, so we got Artura and we have Yuki in very Project Zero style designs here.
Yeah, that's definitely... Yeah, I mean, they have one of the nicest liveries when it comes to Formula GT and other racing leagues as well. I mean, that livery, and their Formula GT livery in particular, reminds me a lot of the 2000s era McLaren. When they had that chrome and red liveries.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with the black and red. Always a solid palette.
Mm-hmm. Also, did you know, at least in America, did you know that red cars in general have a higher chance of getting speeding tickets?
I have heard this.
I think even some insurance companies will actually raise your insurance based off of it. Well, which sucks for me because I have a red car myself.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. That's I've always heard that, but I've never verified the statistics. But I have always heard that. And so hopefully no police show up because we have a few cars with red in their liveries here, at least 3.
I don't know. I don't think that they can catch them unless this just suddenly becomes a game of Need for Speed Hot Pursuit.
Very true. It would have to be the greatest police driver of all time in order to catch these guys, especially on a track like this.
I would say the safety car drivers, but they haven't. I mean, in IMSA, they've been getting a lot of work. I mean, I was watching a little bit of the battle on the bricks before we got started here today, and there was already like 3 cautions within like the first like 30 minutes. Speaking of time, qualifying is wrapping up right now. We have Whiteout on provisional pole, 2/10 ahead of Illusion, followed by Alex, Nuco.
Across the line right now.
Yeah, quite a few of these drivers just crossed the line. And I believe we might have our qualifying grid set up. Illusion will not improve his time at all.
Does not improve.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's on a flyer. Oh, Arturo just wrapped up his lap. Yeah, oh wait, we have Aces. Aces is on his final lap, but will he get there in time?
Yeah, I do believe that they do set it up to where there is enough runoff extra time after it hits 0 that you can complete the lap you're on before it totally expires the session here. Now we got Flaring Aces crossing the line. We'll see if he improves his lap time and or position, and he does not.
He does neither.
That will be P7 for the British driver, Flaring Aces.
Very good stuff. Yeah, we don't have anyone else on the flyer, so now it's just wrapping up the runoff time.
Exactly, and that is the session in its completion there, and so that would mean Whiteout is on pole position for the maiden race of the inaugural season of the GT500.
So
and
we have...
I will be posting that on an Instagram channel to let the world know that, so if you guys are on Instagram, give our league page a follow. It's at Grand Prestige League, and we'll get updates on all the races and future events as they happen.
Very good stuff there. Of course, always check us out on Instagram, and be sure you're subscribed, because we have a lot of races going on in this series and future series coming up, so you definitely don't want to miss it. But another thing I would like to note is that we have all NSX front row followed by the Lexus, and it's very interesting to know that, I mean, well, yes, we kind of figured going in that the Lexus would be the dominant car because of its superior weight distribution. But it's interesting to note that it's not like NSXs are just dominating this entire timing chart, because we have an NSX as far low as 9th and 8th, while we have the Lexus cars up in the higher echelons of it. Actually, the Lexus cars are all grouped together. Alex and Nuko, the two Lexus drivers here, they're both in the second row, so it's a second row lockout for Lexus here. And the GTRs are actually pretty far apart too. I mean, if you look at the time between the the NSX and the RCF, there really isn't that big of a time gap between those cars.
It's not too big of a difference here, so this looks definitely like the drivers that make the difference in this case.
Yeah, so it's very likely that we're going to see some position changes here, and I mean, we know Whiteout is ridiculously fast, and he's in a fast car, so those two together are going to be great. But it really only takes one mistake to ruin your entire race, so it's just going to be that consistency that you're going to need. You're going to have to put in good laps for 25 laps straight. No mandatory tire compounds, and I believe they start off with a full tank of gas. So I'm curious to see how pit stops are going to play a factor into this, because it's not going to be like our race in Belgium where we had several pit stops per driver. But actually, we might not even need a pit stop, because it's 1 times of gas and 1 times tires, so we might not even need pit stops.
And shout out to Yuki there. He actually sent me some info about his tires just before the race, and I got to see his tire wear and what lap he was on, and the mediums were looking really severely worn around lap 22, and this is a 25 lap race, so that's going to be extremely interesting for those wanting to risk it and try to maybe do a 0 stop on the medium tire. But they're going to be in for quite the struggle in those last few laps. They're going to really need to make sure that they had a really good stint and can hold on to their position by the end of the race if they choose to do a 0 stop.
Yeah, that is definitely true. The soft tires could be good, but you will definitely have to make pit stops, and pit stops aren't the fastest in this game in general, so it would be very risky, but the pace deficit with the soft tires might pay off. It would just depend on how fast those tires run out. And speaking of how fast things are going, we only have 3 seconds until we start this Grand Prix, or this race. The word Grand Prix is just embedded into my brain at this point.
Absolutely.
But we have a very satisfying race here. 25 laps, and these cars are ready to go. All we gotta do is wait for those 5 red lights to go out, and then it's go time for round 1 here at Fuji for the GPL GT500 race. Every driver's going to be staring at those lights, and it's lights out, and away we go. An excellent start there for Whiteout. Oh, a little bit of contact between the two Lexus cars, trying to jockey for position. Oh, going 3 to 4 wide into turn 1. Oh, major contact there.
Huge contact.
Between the Lexus drivers. Oh, no. The all Lexus second row is now the all Lexus back row. What happened there?
What do you think? We could throw a red flag, or
we'll have to see. I'm not sure.
Involved?
I don't even know what the red flag policy would be for this series.
I could just call a red flag, I believe, if there's like 2 or 3 or more cars involved.
I believe there's only 2 cars involved with that, but I mean, I'm not sure if it even matters because Nuko's already climbing back up the ranks. He's already about to try to re-overtake a GTR.
That was quite the stuff.
Oh, and the GTR spins out himself anyway, so on the Michelin compound tires, the Michelin tires just not seeming to work on this track at the moment.
Yeah, and doing very good to wait for the other car to go by before trying to get himself resettled back on track. Very good on him, but it did cost him quite a bit of extra time to have to sit there. And Alex is off track too now. Yeah, super good launch from our race leader Whiteout. Like, he launched off the line and had a significant he was pulling a gap before we even hit lap 1.
Yeah, very good stuff there. We know Whiteout is a very rapid driver, and he's in a very rapid car, so it is not super surprising to see him creating a decent gap. But he does go over a little bit of curb there, losing a bit of time. Those curbs are very slippery at times, so you definitely don't want to ride them too much.
Yeah, Boita overtaking here, Artura. And Boita on the soft tire on that GTR. It looks like he's the only one. Yeah, he's the only car in the field with the soft tire. And the soft tire lasts about half the distance that the medium tire does in this particular track and car setup. So we can expect about 10 or 11 laps out of those soft tires before he has to take a pit stop.
Very true. So I kind of assumed that there'd be one of these cars running a very unique strategy here. I kind of figured there would be at least one person running the soft, but I feel like the medium is probably going to be the tire of choice for a lot of these cars. We're having a little bit of a battle here between Nuko and Killswitch. Nuko trying to regain some of those positions he lost at the start of the race. We're going to go on board here to the French driver, and we'll see if he can make an overtake onto either of these Lexus in front of him. There's no overtake on these cars either, like in the Super Formula cars. So you just pretty much got a good run on. There is a 3-way slipstream here.
This is going to be really tight going into turn 1 here.
Oh, Killswitch is going to go for it. He's got
3 wide.
Oh, it's 3 wide. Nuko, is he going to get it? Nuko's, I think, ahead of both of them. Nuko's got both of them going onto the inside.
And he had the inside advantage there, and that's a double overtake into turn 1 for Nuko.
That is extremely impressive on all drivers aside. We see the other Lexus of Alex flashing his lights. Let's see if he's going to go for an overtake too. Let's see if that Lexus is feeling gutsy.
Yeah, Artura and Killswitch going side by side through these super technical corners here, definitely costing themselves some time, not taking the optimal line to leave each other some room, and that's giving Alex an opportunity to come back and maybe have a chance to do some overtaking himself. As we know, he has really good pace around here. He made a few mistakes early on, but he has good pace.
Oh, he's going to get one overtake right here into the chicane, into the Dunlop corner. That is impressive there from the German driver. Absolutely fantastic racing.
Yeah, so it looked like Killswitch just hit the back of Artura just before that, and that gave Alex the opportunity to go up the inside and that away from JD Killswitch. Really unfortunate for him, as he was just trying to pass himself, and he loses out an additional position instead of gaining one.
Yeah, definitely true. Oh, we see Alex trying to flash the lights, trying to play the intimidation game. We'll see. He's got a good run on. Going to be some defense here between the two. You can even see in that rear view dash cam of Artura.
Some weaving.
Oh, that's a lot of defense. Here. Oh, Oh, contact, but he gets the overtake done. Alex is up another position. I know we were talking about the pace. We were talking about the pace of the NSX, but I think this Lexus has got something to say about that.
Oh yeah, the Lexus is very good. And as far as one car being OP or another, the margins of being OP in this game are very small margins. So all of these cars are going to be very competitive with one another. And oftentimes it's the driver that can make the difference. So any one of these cars are capable of getting the dub here today.
Very true about that, because I mean, very much, especially with balance and performance on, then there's definitely that, even that marginal gap that these cars already had just shrinks when you put balance and performance on. And if you guys are unfamiliar with balance and performance does, it adjusts the stats of the cars, all the cars around, to put them as close as humanly possible to the same horsepower, weight ratio, etc. And even tunes as well when it comes to this game.
Yeah, and so just kind of checking the situation at the front of the field here just to monitor the gaps. We have a 3.5, almost 4-second gap that Whiteout is now pulling on Illusion there in P2. They both look pretty comfortable in their positions, but those can go away very, very quickly with even the smallest mistake. And we got Yuki in P3 holding his own, doing very well in P3, and Boita just behind him. It's going to be a good battle between those two, but I believe their pace is probably pretty similar here.
Another thing that we must factor in is that we have Boita on the soft tire compound.
Oh, that's right.
Boita's on the soft tire compound, so he's going to have a better pace at the beginning of this. We were also hearing that the GTR does have understeer issues. So those soft tires are definitely leveling out that playing field in the sense for them.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Those tires are going to burn out if he's not careful. Although the understeer might help, but I don't see how it would. I just feel like that would just burn out the tires more. But, I mean, that gap is closing in. It was about 8/10 at the start of the lap. Now it was down to 5. Yeah, now it's down to 5. A little bit of a wiggle there for Yuki there. So, and he's going way off the track there. I think that might give him one of those very nice half-second penalties there.
Yeah, and just behind that group too, Flaring Ace is being closed in on by Nuko and Alex. This is a three-way running here as well. I'm not sure which one to look at. I think Boita's a little bit closer to Yuki though at the moment than Nuko is to Flaring. But we got two battles going on the main straight right now.
Oh, yep, I think there's going to be a pass. He's going to the inside. He just doesn't quite have enough room to make that overtake stick. We're going to take a look back at this battle too. No position changes between these cars. And I just think it's a matter of time before these two Lexus cars start scrapping against each other, trying to take their own positions.
Absolutely, yeah, and really good car placement there from Flaring Aces to just protect the inside, because that's where Nuko could have definitely taken that position. And in regards to the Yuki and Boita battle there, Boita, he took a look to the inside but knew that he was just a little too far back to make that lunge stick. It would have been a pretty ambitious lunge had he actually went for that. So very good on him, showing good judgment and poise.
Speaking of ambitious, Alex and Nuko are going side by side. We knew this battle was going to happen eventually. They had a little bit of contact there going into the Dunlop chicane. But a little bit of a wiggle there gives Nuko a good amount of space to operate on. But I feel like it's going to be a battle when it hits that main straight out of the exit of turn 16.
Absolutely. It is going to be who has the better exit out of the final corner. Another wiggle from Alex, and he's kind of holding up Nuko at this point, but here comes the exit of the final corner, and this is going to be huge as to who's going to get a good launch down onto the final straight. They both had a good exit, but I think Nuko might be carrying just a bit more momentum. Andy's got that slipstream. Maybe he can close in enough to make a move here into turn 1.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on it. One thing to note too is, he's going to try to go on to outside for a deep, or he wants to hold that inside line, but I just don't think it's enough. I think, Nuko's just going to get the job done around the outside. Oh, but he gets a little bit of curving, so now these cars are going back to being side by side. Oh,
for Nuko to do that around the outside is very impressive. That is some high-level driving right there.
You
to
can
be
tell
able
that
to
these
overtake
two
on the
Lexus
outside.
drivers are pushing to the limit.
Oh, Alex up the inside too, having himself a look again, and he just tucks right behind Nuco here. But we are gonna be approaching the chicane, the super tight chicane here in the next corner. And we'll
He's
see.
gonna.
This
Oh,
is
he's
an
just gonna
excellent place for a
weave
move.
onto the inside. He's got the inside, but the switchback potentially for Nuco. No. Oh, Nuco has a little bit of a wiggle, so
slide.
Alex just goes ahead and makes the retake. Absolutely
Super
stellar
aggressive
stuff.
battle here. We got some Lexus on Lexus violence, but it is very entertaining nonetheless.
It all started with a turn one incident.
That's right. And now we're back to the final corner once again. Important to see who gets the good exit. And it looks like Alex had a really good exit. Oh, it's Nuco. And the slipstream effect not going to be quite as strong as it is in a Super Formula car, but the slipstream still doing its job here. As we can see, Nuco slightly, ever so slightly closing in. I don't think he'll be close enough this time to make another lunge. No, not quite. So he'll just bide his time and set himself up for an overtake somewhere else on track. Probably into that chicane again.
Yeah, definitely. That chicane is a surprisingly good spot for overtakes. So it will be very interesting to see. Oh, well, there's a half-second penalty for Nuco, so that's not even going to matter. He's going to have to serve that on the start-finish straight. Oh, but Alex is going wide, too. I'd be curious to see if he'll get a penalty for that. Alex flashes his lights a lot.
Yeah, I
guess he's testing his headlights. Aces is also doing a good job keeping the pace up on the two battling Lexuses. But I mean, it might just be that the battle between the two Lexus cars is just enough to help Aces kind of extend that gap.
Yeah,
in the
absolutely.
Sonic X, Sonic Riders, whatever you want to call it, NSX.
Yeah, Flaring Ace is definitely taking a good advantage of the battle happening behind him, as two cars behind him are extremely fast drivers, but he gets to just kind of be comfortable and not have too much pressure at the moment. And that helps with his tires too. When you're not trying to fend off cars behind you, you can just focus on easing the tires into the corners and stuff and not burning them up too much.
Illusion had a little bit of a wiggle there going into turn one. Luckily, he kept it going in the right direction. Yeah,
but Boita on those soft tires, he is now below 50% on his worst tire, being that front left. And so here in a few laps, we're probably going to see the pit window for him in particular start to open up. And for the rest of these guys, it's a question as to whether or not they're going to want to do a two-stop race, a medium-soft mix, or if they're all going to be going for a zero-stop here. And I think they will be reacting to each other a bit here, too, based on what they all do.
Yeah, I think that if there's a driver running on the hard tires, which I don't know that off the top of my head if we have anyone currently running on the hard tires, I think they're the ones that are most likely to try to go for a no-stop, but they're going to just lose that pace as the race goes on. So it's definitely it's a gamble. It's a strategic gamble.
Yeah, and we have no drivers on the hard tire. Everyone, barring Boita, is on the medium tire. So they are, if they want to do that zero stop, are going to be bringing the tires to their absolute breaking point by the end of this race.
That is definitely that's definitely what's happening here. I'm surprised that nobody wanted to try the long no stopper on the hard compound tire, but I think some of these drivers have the tire management skills to make that medium tire last.
Yeah, and now we can see too that the rate of wear is starting to ramp up on Boita's car. As the tire wear gets more severe, the understeer really starts settling into the car as well, and that just makes you burn the tires up even more.
Yeah, so I mean, especially in this track in general, I mean, there's some parts that chew up the tires a lot more than others. It kind of reminds me of Barcelona, because Barcelona is a track that's very tough on tires, but also has a massive straightaway that's easier on tires. So it's very much a question of who's going to manage their tires the best when it comes to the rest of this race. Oh, but we have Alex thinking he's about to try to make a move onto. Oh, a bit of contact between the two, between the NSX and the Lexus, and it's more contact again. And they're playing bumper cars out there right now, but that is definitely going to benefit Nuco there, because Nuco is just going to get ever so closer to the NSX RCF battle that's happening for 5th place right now. It is a 3-way battle for 5th. Little bit of a slide from Alex, but he keeps it going straight. He's going to try around the outside, but he's going to cut back in. That's a interesting line. I just don't think it was going to work. Oh, a little bit of a snap from both Lexus cars. And now we have the conga line here of a slipstream. Alex is, oh, good defense from these drivers.
Alex
and,
trying to dummy.
Aces is, I think, is going to get the best of that. No, Alex is, but Aces has that inside line. Oh, yep, he's going to
squeezing
defend.
both cars back to the outside. Excellent car placement.
Very good. Yeah, we love to see that. Also, I would like to.
Ace is doing very good defense.
Very solid defense there from two very hard-charging Lexus cars. They were 3rd and 4th on the grid when we started this race, and now they are fighting for 5th after an unfortunate turn 1 incident took them both out of potentially podium or even race-winning contention. Alex is going to go ahead and get in front. He's now got a balance between protecting against Nuco and trying to re-overtake Alex.
Into the chicane we go. 3 cars wide into the chicane here, and it looks like Nuco is going to take the position off Blaring Aces as well.
Very good stuff from the drivers to keep it clean. I don't think there's any contact there, but I will say that the NSX is about to run up on a very nice slipstream, so Aces could very well get the better of these two drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. This is excellent seeing a 3-car battle, so hopefully Flaring Ace can stick with these guys, these super fast Lexus drivers here, so we can see more of this. Either way, though, we will seem to have a battle here between Nuco and Alex, as Nuco has recovered from his penalty that he served a few laps earlier. And so he's probably going to be setting up for some moves on this lap here. And just picking a line here.
Very good stuff. Not enough to make any positional changes, but I think Flaring Aces got a little bit closer, but I think right now just the overall race pace that Alex and Nuco has is just going to propel them to creating a gap. Yeah, now even just after the end of that first lap, they've gained about 2/10 onto Aces there in the NSX.
Oh, and it looks like Boita did take a pit stop now. He's on brand new mediums now.
Yeah, that happened around the same time.
By.
Yeah, so soft and medium
track. On the soft, and you can go almost half race distance with the soft. You might risk getting put on another set of soft and try to make it to the end. But it looks like he's going to just take the medium tire and have a very comfortable operating window to use these medium tires for the rest of the race without having to worry about tire management whatsoever.
Yeah, because he can just go flat out now, and some of these other drivers are going to go for especially the ones who are attempting the zero stop, they're going to be just pushing. They're not going to be pushing as much as Boita will be, because Boita is going to just have that advantage with the fresher tires, and he can go the rest of the distance because he already stopped for the soft tires. So when the other, like, currently being used mediums get to that cliff where they'll eventually fall off, then that's going to make the lap times of Boita all the more potent. He's going to make that GTR go as fast as it possibly can. We might even see him get fastest lap here.
And we are starting to reach the phase now where I think that the medium tires are probably going to hit a drop-off phase here, as almost all of the medium runners here are about very, very similar wear at about 50% on their worst tire. And so very, very even wear across the whole field, except the GTRs having slightly more severe tire wear, as you predicted earlier on.
Yeah, just because we know that the GTR has significant amount of understeer compared to the other cars in the field.
JD Killswitch, we got a battle here with JD Killswitch going off the track a little bit and then picking up a penalty in the process. Now we got Boita on those brand new tires, who's putting a lot of pressure on him, but Killswitch doing a really good job of hanging his car
Bending,
just
I think
in the
there's a
right
little
spot.
bit of contact there. But Points is going to get the move done. He's on the way. Actually, no, he does not. Not quite. He should have him around the outside here. And he does.
Wow.
Oh, Lucian actually
really
just
good
fires off
driving.
into the pits. Is Lucian doing the
So
opposite
not a zero
strategy?
stop.
We'll have to definitely keep an eye on this because this could be a very good stuff there for
Yeah,
the
I can't wait to
Snake
see
branded
the
Honda.
tires.
Let's see, what is he going to give it on? He's back to mediums. He's doing double medium.
Very interesting, yeah. So him as well, he won't really have to worry too much about managing these tires. He can just go as fast as he can now. But I wonder if, because he is the very first one to make that decision out of the initial medium runners to go into the pits, if the others are going to react and try to cover that off because they think the pace difference might come into play at the end of the race, or if they're going to see that and just say, all right, now we're going to stay out and try to last to the rest of the race, because now Illusion is in P5, and even though there are a lot of places to re-battle and overtake, it's not the easiest track to overtake on. Track position is pretty important here. And so if everyone else does try to not do a pit stop, then Illusion may have just lost out a bit here.
That is true, but you also got to think, probably one of the best indicators that we're going to see is how quickly can Lucian overtake Nuko and Alex, and see if they're, because Nuko and Alex also started. Oh, Whiteout's going to react and go to the pits too.
Okay, so he covers off Illusion's pit strategy immediately, understanding what's at stake there with the potential pace difference by the end of the race with the tire difference. And he's just going to cover that off and nullify any differences that there could be with the tires between these two drivers.
Oh, but he's going to go to the soft tire, actually. He switched to softs.
Okay.
Wow,
Yeah,
all right, so there really is
actually.
some strategy going into this. We'll have to see.
And
oh,
battle
Whiteout's back
for
in the lead.
P1 near Yuki.
He
Yeah,
rejoins
Yuki
the
almost
race.
taking P1 there.
And here's the thing, too, is there's no required pit stops. So these drivers are completely doing it on a whim.
And so Whiteout coming out of the pits in P1 with no traffic now to worry about now that he's passed Yuki for sure. That puts Illusion on the back foot definitely at this point now, because he has some cars he has to pass to get back to that net P2 position.
Yeah, and also you got the clean air plus the soft tires on Whiteout's car in the lead. So because when you deal with less of the dirty air that comes off of the back of these cars, the less tire wear you're going to end up running into. So that means that this car is going to absolutely fly, and we are definitely going to see a new fastest lap before the day's end.
Yeah,
and also,
so
Nuko pitted as well.
overlap.
I think he went to another set of mediums, but he's got
That's where he
another
went.
half-second penalty, which will hurt his race.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, so the
Yeah,
pits are
Nuko
firing
back
up
to
right now.
P8. Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to start going into the pits now, just seeing what everyone else is doing, and they're not going to want to be caught out. If you realize everyone's doing something and you're not, then you're going to feel like, okay, maybe I'm doing something wrong here, and you're just going to want to follow the crowd. Usually, if everyone's doing something on a racetrack, there is a reason. And Alex asking for some rules clarification mid-race.
Yeah,
So he doesn't know if there's required stop or not.
there's not, to my knowledge, there is not. So you could probably let him know in game chat that there isn't.
Okay, Kem let him know.
But also
there
with
having
activating the
unfortunate
auto
race
drive,
himself.
because in Gran Turismo, if you pause the game online, it auto drives for you. But the auto drive is significantly slower than your actual race pace. So he lost a good amount of time to Lucian, who's looking back to get back on that podium. Lucian is on the
That's
fresher
right.
mediums, but he
Oh.
goes really wide off track. That might result in a penalty.
Yeah, he is definitely pushing those tires as they might not be up to temperature yet, too. So maybe just going off a bit there. And yeah, now he's closing in on Alex big time here. We can see a big pace difference between these two guys with the tires. And with the tire difference between Illusion and Whiteout as well is going to play such a big factor at the end of the race.
All
Because
depending,
right
yeah.
now, Whiteout has all the speed, but by the end of the race, those softs are probably going to be completely dropped off, and Illusion will have the pace advantage at the end of the race.
Definitely. We're going to go back here, and it's going to be an overtake attempt on the start-finish straightaway. Illusion is on the fresher tires, And he's got the slipstream, but we'll see if Alex's defense is going to pay dividends or not.
Yeah, Alex been pretty aggressive with his defensive lines here on the start-finish straight, kind of weaving or shooting little like me looks.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks
oh,
like
he's going to just dart to the inside line. But it doesn't matter. Illusion's just going to fire on the outside. Thank you very much. I'll take that.
Wow, you could see the grip difference right there with the confidence that Illusion had and his ability to go around the outside.
Alex is going to try another sneaky link up the inside, but it just does not work for him. I think it's just that tire difference is just too much right now.
Yeah, in order to cover off that inside look Alex did there, Illusion on the absolute limit there. We can hear those tires screaming for mercy, but they held on. And now we got Illusion in some clean air, so we can see what the true pace of these tires are in this car for a few laps. We'll
Definitely.
See. And
I think
a good way to test is how much he closes in on Yuki. Gap currently 6.2 seconds, and it's coming down really quickly.
Definitely. Yuki has not pitted in yet. One of the other NSX cars on track here. But Alex is actually climbing back quite a good ways from the initial accident on lap 1, putting them both Lexus cars at the back of the grid. Alex was even sitting in the podium spots back for a bit, and I think he's back to where he started in this race.
Yeah, and that's a fastest lap there for Whiteout as Yuki there in P2 comes into the pits, and now Illusion back into net P2 with clean air and a 13.4 second gap. So that strategy difference has already paid huge dividends for Whiteout as he has just stretched that lead in the front quite a bit there.
Yuki went to soft tires though, so I think Yuki is going to try to at least go for battle against Boita here. So we might see some NSX versus GTR battling here pretty soon, because Boita went to the medium tire compound as opposed to Yuki, who started on medium but then went to soft.
Yeah, Tour in the pits as well now, and I think any of these guys were starting to lose quite a bit of time. If they planned on pitting and they're just staying on this tire, they were definitely costing themselves a bit of time in these last few laps. But I think that they wanted to stretch out their medium stint long enough to where they know for sure they could comfortably make the rest of the race distance on those softs.
Not sure if this was accident ridden or not, but I think there was a drop-off period. If you look at the times from Yuki, from lap 14 to lap 15, there was almost a complete 1 second drop off of lap time. A 132.6 versus a 133.5. So those medium tires were definitely on the edge of their life support. So coming into the pits was definitely going to be the call. I think you could have made a zero stop work on the hard tires, but I think the pace deficit of the fresher tires would just cancel out any advantage that the hard tires would have had going into this race.
That for sure. Yeah, and the hard tires, they usually just don't have enough pace to be viable, as the pace difference between the softs and mediums already is like usually most tracks and cars about a 1 second per lap difference in most scenarios. And then when the drop-off phases kick, that's an additional half a second to a second for the first drop-off phase. And oftentimes there's an additional drop-off phase where you can lose an additional second on top of that. And so it's really, really important for these drivers to have a super good feel of what their tires and cars are capable of doing, and to get those in a nice operating window and to keep them there as long as possible.
Very true. And Whiteout just extending that gap. He now has a 14-second gap to Whiteout. Probably going to be 15 by the end of this lap. I mean, he just gained about 3/10 in just a few corners. I mean, very strong stuff from the American driver here. Pushing that NSX to its absolute limit and beyond. He's got clean air. We're about to see blue flags for Kem. Kem is going to have to just move out of the way. This is the best part to probably do it on this track. Maybe outside of turn 2 on that straightaway before turn 3, potentially. But right now, if you're getting hit with a blue flag warning, this would be probably the place to just let that NSX through.
Absolutely. Oh, and just checking the YouTube chat right here, I see Keck in the chat, so good to see you, Keck. It's been a little while. It's always good to see him. And it's too bad we don't have you on track. We would love to see you racing.
Flaring Ace is going to peel off into the pit lane. And we might have, and here's what we're talking about. We mentioned this a few laps ago. We might be seeing Boita and Yuki battle it out. NSX versus GTR. We're about to see it, and I am so ready for it. I'm betting, like, give it a lap or two, and these two cars are going to be within striking distance of each other. Very solid stuff there. Yuki actually on the last lap just set a personal best of a 131.158. Still a second off a whiteout's pace, but still a new personal best by quite a considerable margin. He's catching Boita though a little bit, but I mean I think the pace, like the gap, is more so stabilizing between the two cars here. Because there's some points where that GTR does pull away a bit, but there's also parts where Yuki gets a little bit of an advantage as well. So I think these cars on pace are pretty even though Boita's on the older and slower tire in terms of just one lap pace. Although that gap now, Yuki is just having more grip on those corners there. The NSX is going to try to push for that 4th place position.
Oh, and the GTR had a better exit there. Boita with a much better exit as Yuki went a bit wide coming out of there. And that's going to hurt you quite a bit coming all the way down this extremely long straight. This might be the longest straight in the whole game.
I think the only one, well, obviously discounting special stage Root X, we don't count that. That's a massive discount, but in terms of like the actual circuits, I think this is the longest straight that we have here. Probably followed by Spa and Barcelona, I would say. More so Barcelona.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me. And so the exit speed on that final corner is so important because how quickly you can get up to your top speed can change your lap time significantly on a straight that's that long.
Definitely. And also, I mean, if you might get a little gutsy with the late braking to try to make an overtake, but that can also just bite you if you're not careful. And you can go off into the grass. Definitely not something that you want, but it is definitely something that happens quite often. And thankfully that the track is not wet, because otherwise that would add another element of just craziness to this already pretty crazy race.
Yeah, and so Yuki would be best to bide his time here and stay patient and not force anything, because when you try to force things, that's when mistakes happen. That's when you go wide and get your track limit penalties, etc. And so as long as he's patient and sets this overtake up in a really opportune area of the track, I think that this P4 might just be on the cards, as we only have 3 laps remaining. So he is going to want to set it up here soon, but yeah, it looks like he's doing a good job, not pushing too hard now that he went wide like a lap ago. I think he learned his lesson there.
Another thing too is that he's got to make these tires go to the end, and I'm wondering if we're starting to reach that crossover space where the medium tires still having life, but the soft tires might start to struggle a bit. Although I think Yuki pitted late enough to where that might not be as bad as some of the other cases we might have seen if he pitted earlier, maybe say around the time Boita pitted in to get rid of his soft tires, but I still think that Yuki does have the pace advantage at the moment, but Boita's not going to make it easy for him. Oh, there's a lunge, potentially. He was thinking about it. He did consider it, but just not enough.
And so I don't know if they have quite enough time, but if these two cars can work together instead of costing each other too much time here, they might be able to make a play on Alex, who has not pitted. So he is going to go for the 0-stop race. And these tires are really, really low on their lifespan here. And so if we're kind of monitoring the gap, it was at 5 seconds not too long ago, and that gap is slowly coming down. So right now, Alex in P3 with the risky strategy, but as we suggested early in the race, that if you don't pit, you're going to be struggling in your final few laps here. And so that's going to give an opportunity potentially to either Boita or Yuki if they can close that gap without costing each other too much time in the process.
Very true. Although we are down to 3 laps to go now officially, so this one, I mean, Alex did gain a slight bit of time through some of these corners here, but he lost like 5/10 just on that start-finish straightaway. Especially with the slipstream going on between Boita and Yuki at the moment.
For sure. His pace is still good, but it also increases the likelihood of mistakes and little snaps and stuff, and those can cost you way more time. Even though the average amount that the gap is decreasing by is probably not enough for them to catch him by the end of the lap, that is not accounting for mistakes.
They would have to catch like 2 seconds a lap, and right now they're at like 6/10 a lap for both of these cars. So I think Alex, unless he makes a massive mistake, which is very possible on this track, you could just get a little overzealous and just end up spinning out, which is definitely not something that he wants to do. I think right now Alex's best hope. Alex's best hope right now is just take a deep breath and bring the car home. Oh, a little bit of a snap there. I almost gave him the commentator's curse right off the bat there, going into lap 24.
Yeah,
I mean, the top 2 podium positions are pretty much locked in at this point unless something drastic happens, but this 3rd spot might be a little trickier. And I think actually Boita has increased that gap onto Yuki. I think it was within half a second earlier, but now it's not. Now it's just right where it's always been, or it's increased quite significantly.
Yeah, it looks like Yuki now having a hard time setting this move up here, so the advice I gave him a few laps ago about being patient is out the window. He's going to want to be as aggressive as possible now, as he only has 1.5 laps left to make this move. And so he's going to want to, you know, kind of fully risk it. I don't think they're going to catch up to P3 there, so good on that.
Although he's losing about a second a lap, so I mean, it's possible. Especially if that pace just keeps dropping off.
Happen.
If that pace keeps dropping off, then potentially we might see it.
Yeah, now these two's tires are about at the same level of wear, although Yuki on worn softs, I would say, probably has a bit of an advantage over worn mediums. But Yuki's softs are wearing slightly faster, unfortunately for him, so it's kind of a now or never move, especially as they're rounding out the final corner to start the final lap of the race.
Yeah, I think, personally, I think the mediums might be better. A little bit better in this case, just because they might have the same level of wear, but I think they might have the same, or like the medium might have a bit more grip as they enter the final lap here.
Yeah, and by the time they get to the end of the lap, the softs will have dropped off quite a bit more. Yeah, and as we can see right there, the amount of grip Boita had rotating the car around turn 1 seemed just a lot more planted than Yuki, who was kind of veering off as he was going around the track. And now the gap is starting to increase a bit. We are not really in range for him to make a move here, but now we have Alex in sight as his gap is coming down.
Oh, Arturo spun out. There's a yellow flag out, but it's not going to matter to whiteout. He's just got one more corner and then a very long straightaway and a 15-second gap to boot. This was a very straightforward race for whiteout. All he has to do is just make it across that checkered flag, and whiteout takes victory here in Fuji. Excellent, clean, dominant drive from the American driver. Lujan is also on that start-finish straightaway, about a good 14 seconds ahead of Alex, and he's going to cross the line, taking the checkered flag in P2. The front row is starting where they finished, but Alex, can we talk about the recovery drive of Alex there? He had that massive crash going into turn 1, lap 1, and at the end of lap 25, he's back in the podium. He might even be up a spot. Yeah. Boita and Yuki finish out the race there.
Very good.
Nuko coming in P6. Kemazur, who was a lap down, will finish in P10. Aces will come across the line to P7 with the NSX. Killswitch and Artur, the last 2 cars on track. We'll see if they get to finish out their laps. Then I believe everybody will have finished on the lead lap aside from Kemazur. But a very solid race. A lot of action there. Very close racing, especially towards the midfield and like upper podium or lower podium positions.
Absolutely, and that's going to be one of the main advantages of a series like this over the Super Formula cars is just how aggressive they can battle with each other, and they can bump each other and bang wheels a little more than you can in the Super Formula, because those cars are super sensitive to anything. But these cars, you can play bumper cars a little bit, and we saw that a little bit today.
Yeah, and I mean, another thing too is that these cars are not nearly as sensitive to like wind direction or any of the other factors like these cars are. Pole position, clean race, and victory for Whiteout. Very strong stuff there for the American driver.
Yeah,
excellent work there from everybody.
Off with the pole and the win, just like usual. Congratulations to Whiteout for an amazing race as he limped across the line with complete dead front left tire there, and yeah, that tire was completely falling off by the time he crossed the line. Luckily, that was the last lap, because on his final lap he lost half a second in pace alone. That was only going to continue to increase, and so right in the nick of time. Not that it would have mattered too much, because he had quite a good gap.
Very true. Just taking one last look at your finishing positions here. We have Whiteout and Lucian taking the first two spots. The NSX cars finishing where they started, followed by Alex and the RCF, Bonita to the GTR, then Yuki. Well, Yuki completes our top 5 in the NSX, so all 3 cars finished in the top 5. That's good to see. You love to see it. And then we have Nuko, Flaring Gazes, Kill Switch, Artura, and then Kem round out our top 10. Very good stuff there.
For Nuko, a race of what could have been for Nuko, as he lost out massively on lap 1 there, but I think he had pace to be either probably P3, P4 normally where he is.
It was funny because even just looking at the chat here, Bonita was saying that the thought of doing a no stopper never crossed his mind. So I mean, some of these drivers weren't even considering a no stop. So, I mean, Alex, the rookie driver, ended up on podium with a very ballsy strategy, and that is absolutely amazing. You love to see it.
Yeah, I'm actually really surprised that he was the only one to do a zero stop, as that's probably where my mind would have led to immediately. I would have tried to test that and see how viable it is, and that would have been my instinct, is to try that, because the pit stop around here is about 22 seconds, and so time lost in the pits probably 18, 20 seconds or so, and that's a long time to be sitting there. Even if you're doing slower laps, at least you're not at a complete stop in the pits. So
I honestly would have tried to risk it for the biscuit on the hard tire compound, and then go for the hardcore zero stopper that way. Because even if say the medium tires were going to do a zero stopper as well, the pace difference on just having more durable rubber underneath your car just works better with grip and stuff like that. So you can make corners more confidently and aggressively, and then you could even just you would just lose less time lap per lap per lap, as opposed to trying to run a zero stopper on the mediums.
Absolutely. And so as well, when Yuki sent me his tire screenshot before the race too, and I saw that, I know that he knows that those tires could go 22 laps, and they were pretty much dead, but there was a little bit of meat on those tires left still. So I figured him, of all people, especially knowing that, might have gone for the zero stop. So I'm surprised that no one else did.
Yeah, very interesting. I mean, hey, you take risks, and sometimes they pay off. I mean, I think even Bonita went up a few positions as well, who started off on the soft tire compound. He was the sole person to start on the soft tires, and he made up some positions.
And I just posed to our drivers real quick, see if anyone wanted to do a quick post-race interview with us, and kind of try it out for the first time here and see how it goes. I'm not sure anyone will, though, at the moment, so I'll just give them a second for that. But in the meantime, definitely subscribe to this YouTube channel if you're still here with us, because we will be continuing with this series at least, I think, 9 rounds or something like that. It's every other week, and we will be Sundays at the same time. And even after that, we're going to have additional races and series. So as soon as this series is done, we're going to be preparing for the next series to start. So you're going to want to subscribe to this YouTube channel to not miss any of those races. And also follow our Instagram at Grand Prestige League as well. We'll give you updates on how these races are going and what the upcoming races are, and briefing information for the races so you have a good idea of what to expect, how many laps, what track, what the tire wear is going to be like, all of that good stuff.
And speaking of the next race, our next race is on October 6th, and this time, instead of Japan, we're heading across the globe to the United States of America, New York, Watkins Glen, the full course, another track that has some good straightaways, but a few tricky corners in there, and so we'll just have to see how it's going to work. Different weather too, so very, very interesting to see, although it's still going to be sunny weather, but who knows, they may throw a curveball in there.
Yeah, and Watkins Glen is a very fun track, very flowy track to race at, and that will be the debut of that track for this league, as we have never ran a race on Watkins Glen, so these guys are all going to be very green to that track too, so not a whole lot of additional experience for these guys, so that might be kind of an equalizer. And it doesn't really look like we're going to have anyone for an interview today. Maybe next time we'll give them more time to see if they want to, and yeah, we might have that next time, we might not, but what we will for sure have is some more excellent racing this time in a couple of weeks.
Definitely. So you guys will definitely want to stick around. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you'll know anytime that we go live, whether it's GT500, Super Formula, or any other racing series or event that GPL puts on. You'll definitely want to be there when it happens. So make sure you're subscribed to this YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram. You guys definitely want to do that. You do not want to miss any of the action. We had some fantastic battles here, and honestly, we're just getting started. So you'll definitely want to be around when we continue.
That's right. So we can't wait to see you guys next time. This is B23 here with Rekus, and we'll see you next time.
Next time, we'll see you at Watkins Glen.